The story begins with the birth of Clifford Orji, a man who would later send shivers down the spines of the Nigerian populace. Born in the mid-60s in the southeastern state of Enugu, Orji's life took a significant turn when he relocated to the southwestern state of Lagos. In Lagos, Orji's life was anything but ordinary. He started out as a razor blade merchant, a humble trade by any standard. But this was merely the first act in a life that would veer into the unimaginable. As time passed, Orji began to claim he was a shaman, a spiritual healer. He dubbed himself Native Dr. Chineyelu, a title that held significant cultural weight in his community. His dwelling was as peculiar as his proclaimed occupation. Orji took up residence under a highway bridge in Oshodi Isolo, a busy district in Lagos. This choice of abode was not random. It was a strategic move, a facade to keep his dark deeds hidden. To the everyday passerby, Orji was simply a mentally ill man, living under a bridge, harmlessly going about his day. But beneath this veneer of vulnerability, Orji was harboring a sinister secret. His erratic behavior and unusual living situation raised eyebrows, but few could have imagined the extent of the horror that was about to be uncovered. The bridge, a symbol of connection and passage, was about to become a symbol of something much darker. It was under this bridge that Orji would commit acts that would shock the nation and make his name synonymous with terror. The bridge, a bustling area by day, transformed into something far more sinister under the cover of darkness. Unbeknownst to passers-by, a macabre scene was about to unfold under the bridge, a story of unimaginable horror, a tale that would send shivers down the spine of an entire nation, was just beginning to take shape. This is the story of Clifford Orji, a tale of the unseen horror lurking beneath the surface of everyday life. On a fateful day in February 1999, a woman's life was on the brink. This chilling discovery would mark the beginning of the end for Clifford Orji, a man whose name would soon strike fear into the hearts of many. Authorities were alerted to the grim scene under a bridge in Oshodi Isolo, Orji's makeshift home. What they found was a sight straight from the darkest corners of human imagination. A woman, barely clinging to life, was discovered. Her ordeal was almost over, but the true horror was just beginning to unravel. The police didn't just find the woman. They stumbled upon a macabre collection that would send shivers down the spine of even the most seasoned investigator. Human remains, both fresh and cooked, were scattered about. Skulls stared blankly from their final resting place, a cruel reminder of Orji's gruesome activities. But that wasn't all. Among the human relics were items that seemed oddly out of place. Female underwear littered the area, a grim signature of Orji's victims. A check for 80,000 naira lay discarded, a bizarre contrast to the poverty-stricken surroundings. But perhaps most puzzling was the presence of a mobile phone, a luxury item in a place of such desolation, and at a time when only the wealthy could afford such a device in Nigeria. The police had unmasked a monster living not in the shadows but out in the open under a highway bridge. Orji, once a simple razor blade merchant who later styled himself as a shaman, had been hiding a terrifying secret. His arrest marked the end of his reign of terror, but the echoes of his heinous crimes would linger, a chilling reminder of what humans are capable of when they succumb to their darkest desires. The veil had been lifted, revealing a horrifying reality. The story of Clifford Orji was far from over, but for now, the monster had been unmasked. The hunt was over, but the journey for justice was just beginning. In the stark courtrooms of Ebute Metta, Orji's dark secrets were laid bare. A place where justice was sought, a place where the atrocities committed by a man who once sold razor blades and later proclaimed himself a shaman would be revealed. Clifford Orji stood, accused in the spotlight, his deeds echoing in the hollow halls of the court. The charges were as grave as they were grotesque: kidnapping, murder, and cannibalism. Each word, a chilling testament of the horrors he had inflicted upon his victims. His confession sent ripples of shock and disbelief through the courtroom. It was a tale of terror, one that would be remembered in the annals of Nigeria's criminal history. Orji's confession was not just a revelation of his heinous crimes, but it was also a glimpse into the twisted mind of a man who had descended into the darkest depths of humanity. A man who had feasted on the fear of his victims. A man who had not just killed, but had partaken in the flesh of his fellow beings. His confession was a stark reminder of the evil that can reside in the hearts of men. After the confession, Orji was remanded for murder in Kirikiri prison. Nigeria's only supermax prison. A place known for housing the most dangerous criminals. A place where the liberties of the free world were stripped away. Here, Orji would spend his days and nights confined within the cold, unyielding walls of the prison cell. However, even as Orji was locked away, the wheels of justice seemed to take their sweet time. He spent 13 long years without being tried, his case tucked away in the labyrinth of the judicial system. But the wheels of justice, slow as they may be, were still in motion. Orji's crimes were not forgotten, and neither were his victims. But the wheels of justice seemed to grind slowly for Orji. His story serves as a chilling reminder of the human capacity for evil, but also of the importance of a vigilant justice system and the need for mental health care and support. His tale is a stark testament to the horrors that can be committed by humans and the importance of law enforcement in protecting society from such heinous crimes. Years trickled by, turning into a decade, yet Orji remained untried. The wheels of justice can often turn slowly, but in Orji's case they seem to have ground to a halt altogether. 13 long years passed while he languished in Kirikiri prison, Nigeria's sole supermax facility. The charges of murder, kidnapping, and cannibalism hung over him, yet he was never given his day in court. In the midst of this legal limbo, Orji took an unexpected step. He turned the tables on the system, launching a lawsuit against the Attorney General of Lagos State, Adipaye. His claim? Unlawful imprisonment. It was a bold move from a man who had confessed to such heinous crimes, yet the reality remained. He had not been tried, let alone convicted. But the saga of Orji's time in prison doesn't end there. The prison authorities were grappling with another issue: Orji's deteriorating mental health. His erratic behavior and fluctuating mental state had led them to believe that he was suffering from a progressive mental illness. However, their hands were tied. They lacked the resources to provide Orji with the mental health treatment he so desperately needed. As a result, his condition worsened, and with it, his chances of standing trial. The law stipulates that a defendant must be of sound mind to be tried, and Orji was anything but. So there he sat, trapped in a nightmarish purgatory. His fate was left hanging in the balance, caught between a legal system that had seemingly forgotten him and a mental health crisis that was spiraling out of control. Orji's case was a ticking time bomb, waiting for a resolution that seemed elusive. His story serves as a stark reminder of the complexities of law enforcement and the justice system. It also underscores the urgent need for adequate mental health care and support, not just for the general populace, but for those within the prison system as well. The waiting game continued, with no clear end in sight. In the summer of 2012, Orji's saga came to a quiet end. The notorious figure, who had loomed ominously in the nightmares of many, breathed his last within the cold, unforgiving walls of Kirikiri prison. His life, which had been marked by a macabre dance with death, was snuffed out by natural causes. At the age of 46, Clifford Orji, the alleged cannibal and serial killer, was no more. The news of his death echoed through the corridors of justice and the alleyways of society, leaving a trail of mixed emotions in its wake. For some, it was a sigh of relief, an end to a reign of terror that had left indelible scars. For others, it was a somber reminder of the justice that remained elusive, as Orji's case had never come to trial. Orji's demise was not a grand exit befitting a figure of his infamy. Instead, it was a quiet farewell, devoid of the fanfare that often accompanies the death of notorious criminals. His body, once a vessel for his heinous deeds, was reduced to a mere statistic, a footnote in the annals of Nigeria's criminal history. Despite the absence of a formal trial, Orji's legacy was etched in the collective memory of a nation. The gruesome tales of his atrocities, the chilling accounts of his alleged cannibalism, and the haunting images of his hideout under the bridge all served as grim reminders of the man he was. They painted a vivid portrait of a figure who had strayed far from the bounds of humanity. Yet, within this dark narrative, there were important lessons to be gleaned. Clifford Orji's story serves as a chilling reminder of the depths of human depravity, the importance of law enforcement and justice, and the pressing need for mental health care. It underscores the urgent need for vigilance, for a robust justice system that swiftly brings perpetrators to book, and for a comprehensive mental health framework that can potentially prevent such tragedies in the future.